Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest Minty reviews, and I am back in the full regalia finally, because it's cool enough in my recording area, to review episode 3 of Marvel's Secret Invasion. And this one is called Betrayed, which kind of is a big theme for this whole episode, is just betrayal. As I've been doing, we'll do non-spoilers first, and then go into spoilers. This one, I honestly don't think is going to be that long of a review, because I don't have much to talk about that is... or much to go into. So let's just get right into it first off. Let's just get into it. So non-spoilers here first, right here. I'm frustrated with this show. I am very frustrated with this show because I want to like it. I really do want to like it, and I've wanted to like it from the very beginning. And I've wanted to like it from the premise alone of the series, of having this, like, cool spy espionage, like who can you trust type of series, harkening back to Winter Soldier. However, what we're getting at now with the series feels more like a by the numbers type of MCU fare, where it's not leaning into the espionage stuff as much as it could or as much as it should to make it interesting. A lot of it just feels really generic at this point, and that has been done before, both in the MCU and in other media as well, and done better, which is an issue because it's the MCU. And the characters themselves, while the acting has been top-notch the whole time, the characters kind of don't feel like they're doing much. Especially in the situation of Gravik, which I will get into him specifically in the spoiler section, along with Gaia, where there's a lot of stuff going on between those two that... there's a lot of stuff going on between all the characters, to be honest, but specifically with those two that I'm just having a lot of issues with this series. And the overall theming of the show as well about the Skrulls, I think, is also causing a lot of issues for me, where the Skrulls have been set up in the MCU as like one type of character, and now we're getting a completely different type of character without any real context as to why. And I understand that the show is slowly giving us that context, but I think it's being a little too slow to give us that context. And we are in the halfway point, so there are still 3 episodes left. There's still the back half of the season, series, whatever, left. So it can definitely change. I'm frustrated, not just specifically with the series, but with Marvel as a whole when it comes to certain shows, where it's like it's just not living up to what the shows presented themselves to be. But either way, that's before we get into anything too spoilery, we're going to end the non-spoiler stuff there. My overall thoughts is that I'm frustrated with the show because there are some really good things there and there's some really great ideas there. However, they're just not fully delivering on it as much as they could or should be doing. So that's my general non-spoiler thoughts. So from here, we're going to do spoilers. So spoilers here as I put the thing. So in 3, 2, 1, fridging. There's a lot of issues that I have with this episode specifically, and the series as a whole, that I don't know if Marvel knows that they're doing with this series. This episode has a lot of issues, but one of the main issues the overall series does is more exemplified in this episode specifically, and is Gravik. The main villain of Gravik, played by Kingsley Ben-Adir, he's doing great. Like, acting-wise, he's doing great. Like, there's a very, like, subtlety to him. There's a very, like, calmness to him, which makes him as a villain way better. However, all of his actions and what he's doing as a villain isn't working for me, because it's going away from it being an espionage spy thriller of, like, I'm going to infiltrate these world governments, and I'm going to slowly take over as an espionage type of thing, and, like, influence people to, like, start making changes, and instead has now just gone into the MCU route of, I want to exterminate humanity and I want to take over the Earth. Where it's like, okay, Red Skull, just calm yourself down there. Just calm yourself down. We're probably going to get some backstory or some context for this in episode 5, knowing how the MCU has done all of their Disney Plus shows at this point. We're going to get his entire backstory at that one time. They should be, like, sprinkling it in throughout the entire time. Like, if we had any instances of showing that Gravik was, like, a child soldier for Nick Fury, and the fact that he had, like, seen the horrors of humanity from a young age, and, has already seen the horrors of war from the Kree-Skrull War, then yeah, it would make a lot more sense for him to just be like, no, I don't trust Nick Fury, I don't trust humans, I want to get rid of them. But we haven't yet. We haven't. We've seen him get recruited by Nick Fury, and we were seeing him be a terrorist. So We don't know the context there, and I understand the show will probably show us this context, but the fact that they haven't yet is making him feel generic. It's making him feel very by the numbers, which really sucks, because he can be a very great character, but he's not. The other issue that I'm having with the series is with Gaia, so Emilia Clarke's character, Gaia, where it feels like she has nothing to do. She is basically, she basically, for all intents and purposes in this series, is kind of a lamp, and is not the fact of a lamp like normal in TV movie tropes of like, oh yeah, if you just remove this lamp, it doesn't change anything. She's not that. She's more of just a prop, where she's just kind of there to either do what Gravik says, or to get Talos to do something. And it's like, no, this is 2023. She is Emilia Clarke. She was one of the main characters in Game of Thrones. Like, stop having her to be a prop. And it's even worse in this episode because she basically gets sidelined to do nothing except for just get really, really badly written dialogue. At the end of the episode, it's found out based on the whole plot. There's like a whole nuclear submarine plot that Gravik's trying to like blow up a UN plane to like start World War III. And again, it's pretty by the numbers, unfortunately. It's not like he's infiltrating like a world government, which he already has done, and like causing them to do stuff. No, he's blowing up a plane. But either way. So after it's found out that Gaia is the mole, she's a double agent, Gravik just shoots her. And it's a lose-lose situation. They have two paths here. Either she's dead, so this is now the third female character in this series that they have fridged to just further the plot progression and further the character development of the male characters. And she's just dead, and they misuse Emilia Clarke completely, and it's unfortunate. Or she's not dead. She's in fact a Super Skrull, which they fully just... They said the word. They said the thing in this episode. It's like, hey, look, they said Super Skrulls. Or she's a Super Skrull and is just playing possum and is basically not dead. And she is actually healing. And will just pop back up beginning of the next episode and she's fine. Because we see her in trailers for later episodes. So she's clearly not dead. But it puts like the whole show in a weird situation where it's like, you either just fridged his character or you just make Gravik look like an idiot for not double tapping a target. What are you doing then? Unless he wanted her to be dead, which is a whole third option, which is just weird. But Gravik and Gaia are probably the two best examples of my issues with the show of potential that they're not doing. Now, good thing about the series still is the acting. The acting of the series is great. Every scene we get with Sam Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn is phenomenal. It is simply phenomenal. Every one of those scenes. However, in the same token, there's unfortunately always a negative here with this series at this point. Especially, there's just always a negative, and I hate being negative about things. I really, truly do hate being negative. But there's a negative here with this acting, where we have a scene in this episode where we have Talos and Fury talking as they're on their way to go to a target. And there's some MCU quippiness which isn't needed in this series. And in this conversation, we get basically a whole dressing down of Fury by Talos, where Talos is like, hey, you got to where you are because you had a full group of Skrull super spies giving you all the data, all the intel, all the information you ever would need that no one in their right mind would ever be able to get, which is why you were able to get promoted so much. So, in one very easy fell swoop, and I don't know if Marvel intended to do this, and they might fix this in the last 3 episodes, I don't know. They basically just neutered one of their best black characters in the entirety of the MCU by saying that everything he did and everything that we as an audience know about Fury was all because of the Skrulls. And it's like, cool. So the guy who started the Avengers, who, was Captain America's right-hand guy in Winter Soldier, who found out the US government was actually fully infiltrated by Hydra and knew this for a while. This guy actually isn't. He actually isn't. He's just there because he got easily promoted because the Skrulls did all the actual work for him. That feels really bad. It feels really, really bad. Especially for it being one of your main characters who is a black man. That feels terrible as well, Marvel. That feels god-awful to do that. When you already have issues with other politics you're doing, like with the Skrulls being refugees and now also being seen as terrorists as well. It's like, you have a lot of issues there with that. And that could have been completely unintentional by Marvel, but the fact that it's still in there is not good. However, a positive to this, possibly, is that Sam Jackson probably wouldn't allow that to happen to Nick Fury as a character, because he loves his character so much and is supposedly his favorite character he's ever played. And the character Lily is based off of Sam Jackson from the Ultimate Comics, so that's just a funny thing there too. So I don't think Sam Jackson himself as an actor would allow them to do this to the character. So it's probably going to be fixed in the last episodes. It's just something I wanted to point out because I'm like, I feel like I'm the only one who actually noticed that in the episode. I'm like, hold up a second. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Did Marvel just completely ruin the entirety of Nick Fury? But that happened. One of the other things that has happened in this series is that we've been introduced to a lot of characters that we're supposed to kind of care about, and we're supposed to have like emotions towards, especially in this situation of Priscilla, where we get a whole scene with her and Fury and how Fury's been really distant and has always been distant, but that just kind of came to the job. And then he just left after the blip. He just went up in space and just poof, gone. We're supposed to feel for Priscilla or Scylla. We're supposed to feel for her and be like, yeah, no, that's kind of shitty, which it is. It's shitty. However, she's also like a double agent as well, working for possible Skrull Rhodey, because we get that at the end of the episode. He might be a Skrull, he might not be. We don't know. We don't know what's going on there. They'll explain that in a later episode. He's probably a Skrull though, and he probably has been for a while. That's been an ongoing MCU theory that Rhodey's been a Skrull the whole time. But she turns on them and is working with Gravik, I guess. I don't care about her character. We just met this character. We've had no scenes with her other than the one scene with Nick Fury. And, like, the acting in that scene was great. Like, the performances were great. But we don't know anything about this character. We know that she was a super spy for Fury back in the 90s. But we don't know anything about her relationship with Fury. And it's another thing about the show where it's like, if you wanted us to know about this and you wanted us to feel for this, show us this earlier. It's the old writing of show, don't tell. And they're not showing us. They're doing a lot more telling than they are showing. And it's like, you have the runtime. And yes, they have 3 episodes left. They have 3 hours left of this series to, make all this stuff right. But knowing how the MCU has operated so far, and just seeing how the formula is, episode 5 is going to be the big Gravik episode. Episode 6 is going to be the big CGI fight fest of some sort. And next episode we're getting stuff with the president and the first actual scene of the Super Skrulls. So there's not a lot of room there to do all this stuff. It just makes me frustrated. It just honestly makes me so frustrated with this series that so much could be going on with it. So much better stuff could be going on with it. And it's not. And it's just... It's becoming a lot of by-the-numbers Marvel, which really sucks at this point, because Marvel should have learned that their best stuff is not by the numbers. Look at Guardians. There is nothing about Guardians that is by the numbers at all. Like, a little bit you can possibly say in, like, some plot stuff, but that's just generic. That's just like normal writing for movies at this point. It's just frustrating that Marvel keeps doing this for the series. And I'm hoping after this they do take a little bit of a break and start like actually focusing more on getting these series to be good, which I know Kevin Feige said that they want to do that. But either way, before I get into to be too ranty for everything here, that's my thoughts of this episode. I'm frustrated with Marvel. I'm frustrated with the MCU. And I want to like this series. I really, really do want to like it. I'm just not at the moment. And it could very easily turn around the last 3 episodes. It could very easily do that. And I'm here to watch it. I'm here to watch it, to review it, and to see what they do. It's just I don't have the highest expectations for Marvel at this point, and I don't believe they can do it. I don't believe they actually can deliver on what they have basically been promising us. But beyond all that, let me know down in the comments what do you think about this episode, what do you think about this whole series as well. Just, let me know what you think about Marvel, about MCU and Marvel in general, and your overall thoughts about the last couple of MCU things that have been happening. And where do you think this series is going? What do you hope that they're doing? And what do you think that they should be doing with this series as well? Let me know that all down in the comments as well. And if you like this review as well, leave a little like as well. I really don't like being this salty and this aggravated and this, like, I really don't like to not like things. I really, truly don't. I don't like to be this negative. It's just, after a certain point, I just get fed up with it. I just get really fed up with it. So, hopefully you're here for the other positive stuff. If you want to see some more positive stuff, you can go over here and watch this playlist on Star Trek Strange New Worlds reviews that I've been doing. That show I really enjoy, and I'm a lot more positive there. And over here's going to be a video that YouTube recommends for you as well. Hopefully it'll be more positive. It probably will be. But until next time, just stay positive, people. Just stay positive, stay scrolly, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace, everyone. Peace.